there are basically two polar ideas exist in the region about what's the reason for this continuing violence inside Iraq. On the one end, you have those who subscribe to the idea of the exogeneity of the violence to the Iraqi political system, in the sense that the violence is exogenous, it's inspired, supported, financed by foreign powers, principally two neighboring countries. And to be specific, they accuse Iran and Syria behind this continuing violence and insurgency in Iraq. This is those who subscribe to this theory, if you will, or this hypothesis. Of course, their response or their solution is to engage the Iranians and the Syrians over the fate or the stability of Iraq, or if not engage them, at least use some force to prevent them from interfering in the internal affairs of Iraq. That's one end of the advocates of Iraqi or followers of the Iraqi scene. On the other hand, you have those who think that the violence is an internally generated process, or what we call the endogenous factor to Iraqi political process. And those who subscribe to this look at how the Iraqi distribution of power within the government has excluded elements of society and instigating such a violent reaction. And they look at how resources, especially natural resources, are distributed, and see that there is a cause for the disenfranchised elements to take up arms and to fight for their rights. And of course, one of the high-profile banners under which some of these resistance, or if you want, the insurgents are fighting, is against the concept of federalism, that they see that the federal system tantamount to the disintegration of Iraq and dismemberment of Iraq. So you have these two extreme ideas and visions of why this violence continues in Iraq, and I think that somewhere in the middle, an element of external elements, external instigations, and internal disenfranchisement have an element of a truth in what is happening in Iraq. I think the Maliki government tried to address these two polar ideas simultaneously. Prime Minister Maliki had proposed a reconciliation plan in which he would bring in all political factions into a national unity government and broaden the base of his government. We wish him the very best of luck, and it's a mounting challenge for the Maliki government. Also, I think that the call by Prime Minister Blair and others to engage the Syrians and the Lebanese, and now some of the what has been leaked from the Baker-Hamilton paper about the need to enter into a discussion with the Syrians and Iranians also reflect the sense that there is an external powers responsible for some of the insurgency in Iraq. And we fully agree that there need to be a discussion between the Americans and the Brits with the Iranians and the Syrians, especially the Syrians, over the issue of stability of Iraq. And thirdly, I think that the role that we play as neighboring countries to Iraq, and the meetings that we are conducting on a regular basis, also put on our shoulders the responsibility for the stability of Iraq. And this is something that I might refer to back for the question and answer session. This actually is the macro picture that Professor Fendi told me to present to the audience. But I want to respond and to address the title of today's remarks about the Kuwaiti foreign policy in a changing environment. The Kuwait foreign policy and diplomacy evolved throughout the last 3 years, and I say 3 years specifically because there has been a significant development in our region 3 years ago, and that is the collapse of Saddam Hussein's regime. The post-Saddam era has represented a fundamental shift in the dynamics of our region and have changed quite patterns of behavior and norms of relationship that existed prior to the collapse of the Saddam regime. It has ushered an era of confidence, optimism, and great initiatives, which was the characteristics of, I would dare to say, the Kuwait diplomacy for the past 3 years. Prior to that, Kuwait political foreign policy and diplomacy was characterized by quite an extreme degree of risk aversion and a wide degree of suspicions because of the evil intentions of Saddam Hussein over our country. Also, I think that since the collapse of Saddam regime, we moved from an era of what we call preventive diplomacy to the more promising horizon of economic diplomacy, and this is where I'm going to concentrate my remarks on. And what I mean by economic diplomacy is reorienting foreign policy and diplomacy to support the three fundamental objectives that's in Kuwait's long-term strategic plan. And these objectives can be summarized as follows. Those of you, I'm sure that you are familiar with the conventional diplomacy of power, balance of power and geopolitics. What we term the economic diplomacy is really moving from geopolitics to geoeconomics, in the sense to maximize the value of your geographic location for a national economic objective. Historically, Kuwait has been a very vibrant trading center that links the east with the west. It's at the farthest western end of the Silk Road that emanates from China all the way across Central Asia to the Middle East. We trying to revive, in a sense, that ancient Silk Road by building a city in northern part of Kuwait. We are actually calling it the Silk City, and we have allocated $90 billion. City with its port, one of the largest, if it's not the largest in the Gulf, on Bobian Island, with its own airport and its own railways connecting it to Iraq and Saudi Arabia, and through that to the rest of the Gulf countries. So this is one fundamental aspect of the economic policy, is a shift from geopolitics to geoeconomics. Second, that we are moving from a closed